What is up, you guys? It's your favorite cutie Mel back again on my channel to give you guys another video. So you guys don't know it because I have a lot of pre-recorded content that goes up every other day pretty much during the week, and I'm getting down to the end of it. I took a little break. I would say I took about almost like a month off from like making videos, but I actually really feel called to make a video today. I'm going to tell you guys about what I went through, and I'm going to start talking more about the stuff that I go through because I'm realizing that there's no shame in my mistakes, because when I made those mistakes, it was because I didn't know better. But because of the mistakes that I made, I now know better, and I can choose better for myself, and I can in turn share the information with people who were in my same position. This is a video for all of the ladies out there who, you're young and you're moving through life, and if you happen to find yourself in a situation where you're pregnant and you're not married, or you're not with someone that you feel is really going to handle you and your child with care, I advise you to really know my experience. Because first of all, I just want to put it out there that definitely, if you know better, please do better. Please make sure that you are protecting yourself. If you are sexually active, I do not sex shame. I do not shame people who are interested in sex, because it's natural. We all are sexual beings, so I don't judge people based on what their sexual habits are. But if you can avoid getting pregnant, especially in situationships, in anything that's not solid and healthy, anything that doesn't feel good most of the time, I would say please try to keep yourself from getting pregnant by said person, because a few reasons. One reason, I will always want to put it out there that having kids and getting married is a gamble, because just because you're taught a certain thing, or in media we see women getting married and stuff like that, a lot of us grow up with the impression that that's our pretty much only choice, and that we should all strive for the same things. We should all strive to have a child one day. We should all strive to be married one day. And I encourage you to take time to get to know yourself, because there are other options, and there are women who live alternative ways. There are women all over the world who decide that they don't want to have children. That's fine. There's women who decide that they don't want to get married. So I just want to put that out there. But if you do choose to go down this road, please know, no matter how much you think of the world of someone, when you're in love with someone, you want to see the best in them. And it's hard to tell you otherwise, because when you're in love, you literally only see the best outcomes with someone. Oh, it's gonna work out, and this is gonna happen, and if we have a kid together, he's totally gonna be there for me. He's gonna pull his weight. He's gonna support the child financially, and be there physically, and help me so that I can live my dreams and be a self-actualized person and have a great experience. But the truth is, you're not gonna know a man until he either gets you pregnant, or you guys get married, or you guys move in together. That's when you really start to know someone. If they haven't already shown signs of being trash, there is a chance. I'm not saying that every man is this way, because there are good men out here who take care of their children no matter what the relationship with the mother. There are great guys out here, but most men in our society are socialized to not really take care of household chores, and depend on women to carry emotional weight, and it's the odds are iffy. So I'm putting that out there. But anyway, I just want to say, if you decide that you don't want to carry out a pregnancy, you have every right to do that. And you shouldn't let your religion dictate that. You shouldn't let other people's judgments, what you think other people would think of you, dictate that. You should really sit with yourself and ask yourself this question. And if I ever choose to have a child again, if I ever choose to get married, before I say I do, before I say yes, I'm going to sit there and make sure that if I was to have a child, am I able to take care of this child myself? Financially, emotionally, can I handle this? Can I handle someone being dependent on me? Can I handle that? And if the answer is no, choose yourself and give yourself time to grow, because that doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that you were not ready for that responsibility. And sometimes life happens and we don't get to choose. Well, we can choose to a certain extent. Like I said, you could choose to be abstinent, you could choose not to have sex, you could choose all those things. But if you are a sexually active person, just know, things can happen, and we do have reproductive organs who are locked and loaded and ready to go. Okay, so that's something that I just want to say. Here's an example of my life as a single mom with a guy who I got pregnant by when I was very young. I was still in high school, and basically when I got pregnant by him, I didn't know what to do, but I ended up getting caught up at a clinic. And I didn't know this when I went there, but the clinic is basically very religious. It has a backing of like religion in the back of it. So when they asked me what I wanted to do, before they even asked me, I went into the clinic, did the paperwork, did the test, and I was sitting in the waiting room waiting for my results. In that time, they had me sitting in a room basically with some pro-life propaganda. So that already was like weighing on me, and I was heavily Christian back then because that's how I was raised. So I had those fears, I had all of that guilt and dogma that comes along with religion. And basically even with all that, I went to a clinic, and when they called me in and told me, they asked me what I wanted to do. They asked me if I wanted to get rid of it or if I wanted to continue the pregnancy. Originally, what I said was I wanted to get rid of it. But when I found out, literally, like, and I told, when people started to find out, when I told them, I got mixed reviews. My grandma, I remember her telling me that I should get a termination, and I wasn't ready to choose because I still was so afraid of God at that time. I was so afraid of religion and going to hell, and those things started to weigh on me over the days that I was waiting. And because I was religious, I went ahead and just said that, one, because I was afraid of what would happen if I got an abortion. I thought maybe I would never be able to get pregnant again, and I wouldn't have a choice whether I wanted to have a kid or not. So that was one thing that was weighing heavily on my mind. The second thing was the whole God thing. Wondering if I was going to go to hell because, I potentially wasn't ready. But I ended up deciding to keep the child, which I don't regret to this day. I don't regret keeping my child because my child is one of the biggest blessings. Being able to pour into him and to teach him to be better than myself is very rewarding in life. It hasn't always been easy, but it has been rewarding, and I love my son, and I'm happy that he's here. And that's what I'll say about that. But even I wish that I would have been able to make an unbiased choice without the fear mongering. Here we are 11 years later. I called my child's father. I asked him if he can send me $150 so that my son can enroll for next month to do his basketball gym and his basketball practices while he waits on his other league to get started. This man, and I told him, because he always, when I ask him for money, for some reason, he will get my son involved and send him messages basically asking him if he needs money or whatever. And if my son says yes, he like tries to communicate with him instead of communicating with me, which I don't like because he tends to not follow through. So he's basically traumatizing my son, making him think that that he can't depend on people, and he can depend on me, thank God. And there's other men in my life and in his life that help and support his dreams and things like that. But I asked him kindly, respectfully, please do not tell him what you're going to do, because he doesn't tell him that he's not going to do it. He just keeps making excuses and says like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, and he'll unprovoked, like without even being asked for anything, he'll tell him, oh yeah, I'm going to send money for this, I'm going to send money for that, and then he doesn't. And then my son is left feeling probably annoyed and sad, and maybe feeling like he doesn't care about him because he promises things and then doesn't follow through. So I don't like that. I asked him not to do that and waited for his response. He proceeds to text me back and say basically like, who are you talking to? Calls me out of my name, tells me that he's gonna kill me, tells me that, you know, he wants me to die, and all these other things that I've heard a bajillion times by now that it doesn't even faze me. That's why I'm not emotional talking about it, because it's just like, yeah, whatever. Like, it's so annoying having to go through this. And even to have that person a part of my life at any capacity, knowing that that's the person that I chose, I hate that for me. But I am grateful that knowing how much I've grown, because I'm a strong believer that you do attract who you are and what you are. And at one point I was angry. I had a lot to be angry about. As a child, I went through a lot of like verbal abuse. I went through even a little bit of I will say even a little bit of physical abuse. And I didn't have the roughest childhood, but I did have a hard time. I'm not gonna lie. And I had a lot of things that I was probably angry about inside, and I think I attracted another person who was on that frequency unknowingly and ended up having this outcome. But looking at who he is and who I am now, I feel good that I've grown so much that if this was to happen, or if he was to come into my life and I never had my son, he would not even be able to get close to me, because I'm not that person. I don't want someone who disrupts my peace. I would never choose, knowing what I know now, to be partnering with this man in any way. And I just want to encourage you that if you feel like you need a second chance, and you feel like you're not ready to take on that responsibility, or if you feel like the person that you're bringing life into this world with is not ready, you have every right to take control of your life and make sure that you live the best life possible. And part of that is picking the right people for long-term choices. If you are going to get married, be sure without a shadow of a doubt that you're going to be okay regardless of the outcome. And if you want to have a child, same thing. Be ready for any outcome, even if that means being a single mom. And I will tell you that being a single mom is not the worst thing in the world. You will be able to handle it. There will be hard times, and you can still thrive and be a boss and live a wonderful life. I'm living proof of that. I still do many things that I love. I don't feel like my life has been sacrificed in any way, but that's because I made my mind up to not let being a mom be all encompassing and take away everything that I love about myself. So I'm able to enjoy motherhood now. But it was a process. But don't feel bad, don't judge yourself, and you have the choice. And don't let people who are not going to be in your shoes dealing with the calls that I get tell you how you should feel about what choices you want to make with your body, with your uterus, with your reproductive system. Because your child is going to need things, and life is up and down. Sometimes you will need help, and you want to make sure the person that you're partnering with is a helping hand, not somebody who is a hand who's trying to drag you down every single chance that they get, because they're miserable, they're jealous, whatever their problem is, you know? So that's my video for today. I wanted to share that because it was on my heart heavy that I know that there are other women out here who might just come across my story, and even if they don't, that's my intention. My intention for this video is to reach the people who need it, reach the women who need it. You are beautiful, and you are still a good person if you need to separate yourself and choose a different way. And you're not a bad person for making mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. There's not one person that you know who hasn't made a mistake, who hasn't dated someone who is shitty, you know, who hasn't dated someone who wasn't good for them. You're not the only one. You're not the first, and you're not the last, and there's no reason to beat yourself up for that. We all have to learn, and we all, you know, we only have the tools that we start with, you know, and not all of our parents are equipping us the best way that they can to make sure that we know better, or just have a clear understanding of how real stuff can get. Because one thing about me, the lack of communication that I got around things that were super important are things that I make sure that I talk to my son about. I make sure that he knows that I'm always honest with him, and I tell him in an age appropriate way that life is real, and there's certain things that you should be prepared for, things you should look out for, and if you want to have a good life, there's certain things that you should avoid. And I would absolutely say one of the things that you should avoid, if possible, is being paired with a toxic man when it comes to getting married or childbirth. Telling you, it affects your life greatly. It doesn't mean that things are over for you, but be wise, be wise, be wise. Listen to somebody who's been through it. It's not worth it. My son is worth it, but having him as a partner in any way in my life is not worth it. And he only brings negativity to my life and has only done so pretty much ever since I have had him. He has been an absolute monster to me ever since. And I don't provoke him. I don't provoke him. I literally talk to him. On a good year, I might talk to him 5 to 6 times a year, because I limit my exposure to the toxic. Because the last thing I need as someone who's already having a lot on my plate is someone who's going to try to drag me down further. It's not what I need. And because I need my strength, I protect my energy, and I have boundaries. And when I feel like I can't be in communication with him, I don't. And I never let him know where I live or where my address is, and my son knows not to give him our address either, because he is threatening me. So thankfully for me, I am divinely protected, always have been and always will be. And he will never be anywhere that I am, because I pray that he's not. I pray that I'm protected every single day. And I don't have no time for stuff like that, and you shouldn't either. And don't feel bad if you do get into a situation like me, if you need to cut him off for your safety and for your mental health. That's okay too. Don't let people make you feel bad, because people can reframe that and be like, oh, she doesn't let me see, da da da. Cut it out. You have a right to peace. You have a right to peace. And if someone is threatening you and threatening your physical safety, if someone is consistently yelling at you, calling you out of your name, know that you deserve better, and that God will make a way for better. And even if that person doesn't do what he's supposed to do, luckily for me and luckily for you, if you pray for this and you know what you want, there are so many other people who are willing and able, and at every chance they get, they love me and love my son, they help me and they help him. So it's like, don't focus on the people who's not doing their part. Focus on the people who are. So that's all I have to say today. I really I pray that God sends this message to the people who need it. And if you are in a bad situation, just know it gets better. It's going to get better. And you are amazing, and you're doing a great job. And don't ever let anybody, especially someone who is your biggest hater, make you feel like you're not, because you are absolutely crushing it. You are killing it. You are an amazing mom. You are an amazing, even if you are in the opposite role and you happen to be the father and the mom is gone, you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job. You're doing the best that you can, and just continue to try to be a better person, because when you better yourself, you better your parenting. When you better your communication, you better your parenting. When you better your patience, you better your parenting. So keep working on you, and it's going to reflect, and that child, that seed is going to blossom into a beautiful flower who's going to be abundant, and it's going to be great to this world. Okay? All right. That's it. Love you. Bye.